What's good, everyone? Welcome into the TraKCouts podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about music and life with the people living it. I'm your host, Code Red. With me, my boy, Scorpio. What's up, bro?
We in the building.
Every day we're in the building up here, man. We talk to artists, engineers, producers, all three, all the above. We drop every other Wednesday, so make sure you guys are tapping in and following along. But today we got a good one. We got one of the most talented young artists, producers out of KC via Columbia, Missouri. His new album, Will Rap for Food, is out now. Please welcome to the podcast, Zeph France. What up, bro?
How you doing, bro?
We're doing good, man.
What's going on with it? Chilling, man. Chilling.
So it sounds like literally straight off the plane to the studio for the podcast?
Yes, bro. Yes. This is a lot. It's been a lot this weekend, but yeah, I'm excited to be here, bro, for sure. I'm grateful to be here, for sure.
Well, let's hear about it, bro. Let's hear about what you've been doing up in New York, what that was like, where we at up there.
So we was out in Brooklyn. You know my man's Sean out there. So shout out to the boy.
Yep, shout out.
We was connected with him out there and kind of networking, doing that whole thing. And then my boy Terrence behind the you know what I'm saying, the camera back there, just getting a lot of the good content, filming stuff, taking this Will Rap for Food thing across the country, you know. So trying to get different locations and just doing the works. For real. So just trying to catch a vibe in a different city. It was a great time. So I was mainly in Brooklyn, though. That's where we was at a lot, for real.
So a lot of groundwork, just like spreading the message of the album, or what were you guys doing?
Yeah, I passed out a couple of the things, like for the promo for the album, like a couple of the, I guess you say, like some promo material for it, but it was mainly about bringing what we were doing in Colombia to another part of the world, right? So the tent that you saw that was on the cover art, like we took that out there and shot some
for real?
cover art. You know what I'm saying? Some stuff out there because it's like, this is real. You know, I'm literally rapping. Like I'm taking this journey in this world everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's taking advantage of the scenery. You know what I'm saying? Taking advantage of everything that goes with it and bringing my world to a new one. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
So I know you and Ashan are collaborators in the past for sure. Any new music you was working on up there? Anything you want to share about that?
Yeah, it was just, can't say too much, you know what I'm saying? But it's definitely like working, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Working and connecting and building like we always do. But it's kind of one of the situations where that's already built, bro. That's like foundation. That's my dog, you know?
For sure.
So it was just natural, you know what I'm saying? He announced his big move out there, so it was natural. We finna, you know what I'm saying? Taking this whole Kansas City thing everywhere we go, you know?
Yeah.
That network.
And I mean, Enjoy the Swans is like turning 2 this month.
Man,
that's crazy,
bro. Crazy, bro. And it's so funny, like, we built that project out of just pure relationship, just pure vibes. Like, it was like, bro, like, you the homie, I'm the homie. Like, let's make a project. And
yeah.
maybe 2 or 3 days worth of, like, making music, and boom. It was like, there it is. So, heck of a time.
That was definitely one of my favorite projects, like 2023, for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro.
So smooth. I want to talk, since we're on the subject and Enjoy the Swans, that song specifically that you guys had pitched up, like, I don't know if you had pitched up the whole song or just the vocals, or how did that come about? It seemed like you guys had dropped a snippet where it was almost an accident.
Oh, the Ride song? Oh, yeah, bro. Nah, that's literally how it happened, bro. Like, I don't know. And it's so weird. We've done this multiple times, but I feel like some of the most organic moments in the studio happen not intentionally, right?
Yeah.
Like, they just happen haphazardly. So we were making a song and kind of really working on the vocals, like trying to just get it tight. And then I just happened to click a button and it was playing real fast. But I liked the way that the tune sounded in my mind. I'm like, bro, this sounds kind of good. Like, this is pretty dope. And then he was like, the big thing at the time was, speed up versions of everything. Speed up versions. I'm like, okay, I mean, that's cool, but like, I don't think the song needs to be sped up. Like, I feel like the aesthetic is nice of the voice, but let's just keep it at the same tempo so it was still knocking. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bro. It was crazy. Like, it was like two minds and two worlds just collided, and it was like, boom.
A lot of people don't realize, like, changing the tempo 1 BPM can, like, change the whole feel.
Change the whole record.
Vibe.
Oh, God. Man. Yeah, it's, like, crazy, too. And I, like, whenever I work with, like, Mikey a lot, he will, like, just be like, no, turn that up 1 BPM. And I'll be like, bro, chill. And I'll be like, hold on, that's fire, though.
Yeah.
Mikey, a lot of times, like, with Mikey, when he making a beat, we'll be sitting there vibing, and then the next thing you know, he slows the whole beat down. We like, hold on, wait, what just happened?
He'll do crazy stuff, like slow down 20 BPM, you know what I mean? Like just to see.
Slowing it down, pitching it down is big. Like if you
Yeah.
pitch it down, that make that bass line come through super smooth and it can be crazy, bro. You just
We
facts.
definitely gonna get into your low end on this most recent project. Let's just get into the new project. We'll Rap for Food.
Right.
So you're talking about the tent. You guys took that out to New York City. Like, what's kind of the concept behind the whole record in terms of like, you appear to be like, I don't know if homeless is the right word with all the concept art for it and the like the social media content.
Yeah, right.
You're homeless to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll Rap for Food. That just implies whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So talk to us about the concept behind like the whole visuals and the music together.
So this whole project, bro, it's I feel like most of my projects are timestamps. Like most of my projects are relevant to where I am in the moment, right? And I've been in school for a while. Like I've been in school for like the last 6 years or so. And I'm finally getting ready to graduate. 8 weeks, bro. 8 weeks. It's over, right? So
My boy got it down to the hour, minute, second.
nah, facts, bro. So that means I was just telling Terrence, I'm like, bro, I got an assignment, dude. You know that? Like I got a whole nother assignment I gotta do in like a couple of hours. Like, anyways, bro, school is its own thing. But that being said, you know, particularly in finance, we deal with the whole idea or the construct of what we consider value, right? So you have money, which is dollars, you have wealth, which is property, and all these different things, right? And that's what we consider to be valuable. But I realized that my perspective and my gift is also valuable, right? It's one of those things where in this world, people will deem you successful only if you provide what everybody says to be value, right? So if you don't have a lot of money, then you're not successful, right? That's typically the social thought behind it. But to me, I think that there are people who wake up every day and have these incredible talents and these incredible gifts that they've matured over years, whether it be counselors, whether it be, I mean, here's the thing, you don't even necessarily need a distinguished title to be gifted in a particular area, right? So it's like counselors, teachers, writers, poets. I mean, people that walk past you every single day that are extremely gifted, but because they don't have what's deemed as value, then it's like, oh, you're not anything, right? So that being said, me being in college, I faced that same kind of, I guess you say, dissonance, because it's like, well, I can either go the regular, continue down this college path and, you know, get the finance job and just forget all about the rap thing, even though I've dedicated my life to this for the last 10 years, you know what I mean? Or I say, you know what? I know that no matter where I go, even if I don't take the route that other people deem as success, like, let's see what this rap thing can do. And let's see how much value and how much I can really bring into the world and what changes and impacts I can bring to the world using what I consider, you know what I'm saying, to be valuable. So that's why it's like, we'll rap for food. Cause like at this point, I mean, I feel like people should, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Support the boy, bro. Like we doing this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really what it's about though. Like it's just this overarching kind of thing. Like, you know?
Yeah. I think so. Like Jimmy Carter, old president, passed away a while ago. And I had seen a quote that he said that was, you know, we're judged now less by like our merit, less by what we do and more by what we have.
Right.
And so that's kind of like, it ties into that idea of what you're saying too.
Exactly.
And so like, what is it about hip hop that is so enthralled with that culture to begin with? You know what I'm saying? Like it's all about what you have, especially now I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, to be honest, I think hip hop has so many different layers to it, right? Like there's so many different artists who rap about so many different things, but I realized that at its root and at its core, typically hip hop is just like healing for people, bro. At least it is for me. And that's why I say it's like a timestamp. Like this project, a person could look at Will Rap for Food and take it as this guy just wants to rap for money. And I'm not mad at that because he's not lying, right? But at the same time, when you look deeper at it, we're talking about college and we're talking about all my actual problems looped into these songs, right? And you don't have to necessarily know me to relate to me. You know what I'm saying? So back to your point, it's like I feel like everybody's gonna have their own way of dealing with their experience, and how they show that in their music is just gonna be what it is, you know? So some dudes say, okay, I was struggling, but now I'm up. Yeah. So that's how they gotta make sure you know that they up, because they remember when everybody saw that they was down, you know what I'm saying? So I I don't necessarily say that that's my way of doing it, but I definitely could understand how somebody be like, well, yeah, they was on me like then, so now it's like, well, I'm gonna let y'all know. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let y'all know what I got because I remember I ain't had nothing. You know what I mean? So that's where I think that state of hip hop kind of relies. Plus, people just do what's popular. So once a guy did it once and it was like, oh, that's cool.
Well, I mean, when we talk about like it I wouldn't call your music club music by any means, but club music, obviously, you know, you want to be like, that's a time to celebrate what we have. So I feel like that's why it is.
Feel good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's talk about your music and your production and your writing, because I feel like your music is so like soulful. It has depth and it just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Is that like, especially this, let's keep it focused on Will Rap for Food, but like, so is that like intentional, the vibes you're bringing, or when you create, that's just what you create?
My only intention when I go in is just to be as authentic about my story as possible. What it turns out to be, if I develop some level of a rhythm with what I'm doing, then maybe it'll kind of have a specific sound that kind of reoccurs. But I mean, for the most part, as long as I'm telling my story, I don't really know. Honestly, I just be like, dang, that feels good, and I just go with it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
And so the production on it, I think you produced the whole thing.
Yeah, dang, yeah, I did. Dang, that's crazy. Yeah, for sure.
What is it about like you like are you so hands-on with everything, production, recording, mixing, writing? Is that just because you enjoy all aspects, or is that out of necessity, or like how do you feel about doing everything like in the music part yourself?
It's crazy because it's one of those things where I do enjoy all of it. I think that it's just one of those situations where I feel like I enjoy doing everything, and I'm very particular about how things sound. And I there's a certain gratification that I look for when the record's done.
Yeah.
And handing somebody that responsibility is like it can be very taxing on a person, because at the end of the day, we're talking small minor things. You guys are in the studio, you know what I mean? You guys operate in hertz, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like engineers, bro, take that down 2 hertz. Like nobody's gonna hear that stuff, right? But it's our gratification. It's such a representation of who we are that I think that attention to detail can just be too taxing to put on one person, especially considering, you know, just the timelines and trying to put things out and just marketing it. It's a lot. So I try to make sure that at the end of the day, I know that I'm responsible for this, and just try to take as much responsibility as I can, because it's, you know what I'm saying? It's my voice to the world. So yeah.
So like you prefer to be like more hands-on with it yourself rather than having to hand it off?
Absolutely.
And so you did the mixing and mastering as well?
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about that, and we can get techie and nerdy as we want to. I was just telling Scorp, we had ran the project maybe an hour or so ago before you got here, and it's like the low end, like straight out the gate, especially like on Doe, like the low end, the bass just sounds so clean and smooth and just like velvet. So like, are you doing anything specific on the low end to treat your beats, or like is just sound selection, or what's going on there?
Space is everything. Like you say we get nerdy and like techie.
As techie as you want, bro.
So if you think about like the transients on the sounds, like the kick drums typically have an area and a range at which they impact the highest. And if you make sure that your bass and your kick are layered correctly, it's gonna create the best impact. Because if you put them together and they clash, then it creates that muddy sound, right? So the key is, like you said, sound selection. I'm not big on putting a bunch of plugins on my instruments or plugins. I just feel like the sounds, you boost them, turn them down a little bit, and that's how, as much as I get into mixing the instruments themselves, right? Yeah. But if you pick the right sounds, then typically they're gonna layer. It's like having a sandwich, right? You don't want to put too much mayo on there, right? Like you can have a great burger, and then you put the cheese and you know, everything that's on there, and then you slap all this mayo on top of it, and it ruins it, right? So it's like, I look at music kind of similar. You know what I mean? It's like, as long as everything's layering and coming through nice, put my kick and make sure that it sits almost like on top of where that bass is supposed to sit underneath it. Because when you think about an 808, it hums, right? Yeah. So if you have a kick drum to kind of almost like the initial impact point of that humming sound, then it like brings it all together. So like a song like Doe, I picked a certain kick because I knew like, oh, this is gonna come through and it's not gonna cloud my vocals either, right? So that's kind of typically how I approach it. It's just making sure that everything has enough sound. Like I think I got that from Dr. Dre. Like he just makes sure he picks the right frequencies and they balance out. So yeah.
Yeah, and whenever you're making beats, sound selection, like that's everything. You know what I mean? That's like you said, it's 90% of the battle just to get everything sitting where it needs to is the sound selection. Like what kick did you pick? Which 808 did you pick, et cetera? You know what I'm saying?
Making sure everything like just complements the other pieces
Absolutely.
the right way.
Absolutely.
One thing that I was hearing throughout all of your music, not even just this project, your doubles, like the stacks and stuff, like with your like any harmonies and stuff you make in your songs. What's your process behind doing that? Like, are you having any like vocal aligning, or you just kind of just naturally let it go how it flows?
It just kind of depends. It's one of those things where like I definitely do my takes, and then I've learned a lot from my friends that do background vocals and stuff, and they tell me the amount of takes that they do, and I realized I wasn't doing nearly enough. Like we're talking guys will do 10 stacks for one vocal, like one octave, and it's like crazy. One note specifically. It's like, golly, I've never done that. But I will say that when I approach my background vocals, I just try to make it sound as full as possible, right? So I don't focus on it sounding exactly alike every time. It's that feeling, bro. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean? I know that there's typically some level of a metric or like, okay, let's make sure that we say it the same way. Nah, bro. There's sometimes, little secret, bro. Sometimes I don't even say the right words. Like sometimes I'll be like, like I had the right, but it'll mess up. And it's like, well, that was the right note and it sounds good and it's not even that loud. So we gonna keep that. and that's what I do, you know? So, I just follow that feeling, bro, for sure.
The vocal layers too, it's like you are adding like complex chords almost to like what you got going on musically during the song with just your voice. Are you like, I don't know, not classically trained, but how much are you into music theory when it comes to especially stacking the vocals, and how much is just I'm gonna hum and then I hear this note and that's the note I want?
It started out as that. Like it was just like, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Like that's it. And then we just go with it, right? So as I've broadened my musical understanding, I can definitely say that I've done a little bit more done a little bit more research in terms of understanding how chords work and chord structure and those different things. But when it comes to going into those vocals, I like for everything to be instinctual. So I just like to just go in there and be like, we just gonna stack and see what happens. And what I try to do is find that crunchy note right in the middle, or like that crunchy note towards the bottom, and then you're like, ooh, that's the one. Like you might have your traditional, you know, what do you call it? Tenor, alto, soprano, right? So you just have that 3 stack, but then there's typically something in there where you're like, hey, let's try this note. You know what I'm saying?
Dissonance to it.
So make it nice. You like, ooh, yeah. So that's cool. Yeah, exactly. That dissonance for sure.
What DAW are you making your beats in, and then what DAW are you recording and mixing in?
Everything FL, bro.
Really?
Like straight. It's like I want to bounce it out, but my computer's not good, bro. My computer's not. It's right here, bro. You can't do too much, bro. It's gonna start crashing, and all the files gonna get lost. All in FL right there.
I mean, Scorp can speak more to it than I can because he uses FL as well. But like, how do you feel about the workflow, like mixing and stuff in there? Because I haven't had much success trying to work with FL. I've attempted like the most half-ass attempts to try to get into it, but as far as mixing, you don't see as much people mixing and recording in FL as making beats. So what's your workflow like in that?
Because I'm so involved in the process, I think that some people get the beat and they start from there, right? So let's say you bounce out your vocals to your stems or whatever it is that you get into your Logics or your Pro Tools, or, you know, typically people that do that, they get, at least in my experience, they get it at that point, right? It's already created, right? So they're like, okay, I got all the instruments. But since I start from the beginning, it's like that feeling is already there. It's already been curated from the jump. So when I picked my sound, you know what I'm saying? I can make different selections as I go, right? So like if you're just getting a kick, like you might want a different kick for that mix, you know what I'm saying? But you can't, because that's what was already given to you, you know what I'm saying? So because I am a part of the process from the jump, it's like, okay, I can make those decisions early on. So it makes the workflow pretty like seamless because I got in mind how my vocals are gonna sound over this beat before I even record them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can even plug up my mic and kind of melodize and melodize to it and kind of see how it's gonna sound and even get it a little prepped before I even bounce out the beat, right?
As
Just
you
because it's
making
like exactly. And you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do a different pad because I don't like how my vocal sounds over. You know what I'm saying? And you mixing everything in at once.
So you're kind of working on the beat and the vocals at the same time a lot of the time?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I typically try to just structure the beat, and if I have a good structure for it, then I can just bounce out like a little arm recorded, just like rough part of it, and then see if I can come up with some lyrics or see if I can, come up with a rough idea, and then I'm like, you know what, okay, we'll go from there. And just like I say, seeing how I sound over the tracks just initially. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk about the rollout of the project a little bit. I know you have, and Scorp wanted to ask a question about this as well, about the rollout with the tracks, the re-releasing. Go ahead.
Yeah, like so was on Will Rap for Food. Some of the songs on there were on previously released EPs. So were those EPs like intentionally like part of the rollout, or is it just what's the mindset behind that?
So initially, I had wanted to kind of drop it as like 2 parts, and it kind of did still come out as 2 parts. But I think what happened was mid rollout, I realized that I wanted to give it a little bit more attention than I was giving it. Right, so like the covers were a certain way, and like the marketing on it and the branding of it wasn't specific to me. It didn't feel as personal as I would have liked it. So the whole idea was that, okay, I was going to just release the tracks and then release the second part and then just kind of put it out like that. Because if I'm being completely honest, I was in school, like I say, I was making all this stuff. So it wasn't even really supposed to be a project at first, bro. I was just kind of like making songs. But that's when I realized, like, wait, it was a project because this is your life. This is what you do. This is how it all goes. So the fact that it was so cohesive was because it's like, this is a pure representation of yourself. So that being said, because it's such a pure representation to me and I had that kind of epiphany, I met Terrence and met some other people, and they were able to bring together this vision to say, okay, we're going to do this a little bit more intentionally than we were doing in the past. And that's how I arrived at the tent and arrived at, taking the photos and shooting my videos at these different sites. And, it just became a lot more intentional than it was initially, just because honestly, I hadn't dropped in a while, and I was like, man, I'm finna drop some music. And then people were telling me like, hey, drop some. So I just kept dropping it because most of these songs had no intention in the first place. So, it's pretty cool. I just kind of repackaged it back, and I realized that I had so much to say that I felt like, you know what? Even if I did release these, people who are hearing it now are gonna see the whole entire vision, right? So that was kind of the whole mindset behind that.
So when you started dropping, the idea wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna drop this on this date, these 2, these 3, these 4. It was just, this was all organic. You were just like, I'm gonna drop again, but I'm gonna package it back with the other ones, or how like what the repackaging of it is what I'm interested in. Like, how does that?
Yeah, so I had we get so wrapped up in content and wrapped up in what it looks like the most efficient way to run a music business is, especially nowadays. It's like, oh, upload 3 reels at 3:59 on a Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? For optimized algorithm success. It's like, bro, so we're trying to follow these algorithms 2 weeks here, 1 week there. And I was kind of just trying to run my business like that a little bit. Like I had kind of if you look, there was a lot of cohesion between the cover arts, and like it was just very like efficient, right? You dropped every 2 weeks. You dropped a video to go with it at the time. And I had a video series I was doing with it as well. So it was pretty intentional, but it just didn't feel like the music itself was getting the amount of attention that I needed it to, right? So I just didn't see it being a sustainable business model for me, a sustainable way of communicating my art to the world, because it's like, this feels like content. It just didn't feel right. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna restructure how I'm marketing this thing. And like I say, it was like Terrence was, bro, Lord just sent Terrence into my life, bro. And he was like, bro, let's do some visual stuff. And I'm like, dang, okay, bet, bro. Like we gonna do this. And Next thing I know, like that photo for the cover art, he was flying a drone like randomly. And Terrence does this thing, bro, where he has like this like the organic, like I tell you, it's like unintentional genius, bro. Like he was just flying a drone across, and I had a whole different vision for the cover art, a whole different thing, but I knew that I was going in with the right intention, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a representation of me. So then, like I say, he's flying the drone, and we're just out there, we're shooting something completely different. And then he sends me that photo later on, and I'm like, oh, forget everything I had going on. Like that's it, bro. Like that's the cover art, right? So that being said, when I saw how pure the intention, how the result of having pure intentions, I think that's what guided me towards the rollout and how it is now, rather than a year ago when I was just like, hey man, I'm finna make a video, make a song, make a little cover art, rinse, repeat, right?
Yeah.
It was just a lot more intention behind it, and I think that's kind of where I want to stay. Like I kind of realized, like, nah, this is the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it so much more.
And I feel like all the content has looked really good, and it's like all tied together so well.
Exactly.
So shout out Terrence over here. He's off the camera. You guys can't see him. Everything's looked great. So let's talk about the music video for Something New then also with MKV. And did Terrence work on that with you as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I know some of your shots were, some of his shots were included as well. So shout out to MKV. Came down to Como, man, late notice, like, but you know what I'm saying, we made it work. And it was a great time, bro. I had my boys, the Hollywood boys, they content creators, dope YouTube group. We've been friends forever, but just real funny dudes. I think probably the funniest people that I've met in real life. So now that they're like blowing up on YouTube and on Instagram and stuff, like I'm not surprised. So that being said, they pulled up and really we just vibing, bro. I was rapping my song and trying to just showcase the vision of that song, and I'm just glad it came out the way that it did.
I feel like it kind of showcases the vibe of the album based on what you told us, like what the concept was behind it too, right? So you have like the tent and the content stuff you guys have been doing tied into it, but then you're also like at school with part of the video too.
Yeah.
So like, is that just both sides of like your mindset with this, or what's going on there?
Absolutely. I think Something New is like the staple song of this whole project. Like it's just like that stress you feel when it's like the pressure to show. It's almost like because I've always lived my life trying to achieve and chase my ambition and, you know, be gratified by the things that I can do. It almost feels like if you don't have anything to show per se, or show to the world for all this work that you're putting in, it's almost like it's a waste, right? So, like I say, going to college, the showcase of what you did in college is the job, is the stability, all these different things. But what about my passion? What about who I truly am? I've also done a lot of work in that area as well. So where does the line get drawn where I say, okay, what's important to me and how am I gonna live my life in regards to what I'm doing? Because even you, bro, like I'm sitting here watching, bro. I remember when you started your studio, what might have been 2020?
Right, yeah.
About 2020?
Yeah.
And I remember like it was always like A1. It was always like, okay, this is raw. But like just watching how you level up, watching how you got all the, like, this is crazy, bro. So
appreciate it.
And I understand that was a risk. Like it's not like it just floated up into nowhere, right? So it's like, when do I say to myself, I'm gonna make a decision, I'm gonna stand 2 feet down on this and say, you know what? This rapping thing is who I am and this is what I want to do. So that's what this whole project, that's what that song is about. That's me, Zeph France right now. Like that's what I'm on, I graduate. Who knows what's gonna happen? You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, I want to know what's going to happen. Like it's like you are an amazing artist, but you've put in so much work, like in your school. You're getting a master's, correct?
Yeah.
In business,
finance. Yeah.
Finance. Okay, so like, it's like, which one's Plan B, bro? I don't want to like make you actually answer that, but it's like you're such an amazing artist. Like, how do you decide which one gets your focus?
Neither's Plan B, bro. It's all me. I was talking to somebody about that the other day. He said it so well. He was like, we're moving away from the day and age where you have to choose, right? All of it is you. All of it is your experience. I wrote some of those raps when I was I worked at Dollar General distribution. I don't even know I'm supposed to shout that out. My bad. But shout out to DG, bro. My DG fam. You know, that's my dogs in there, bro. I love that. I love that job. I hated that job, but I love that job because it showed me the value of true work ethic and the value of really having to go and get it every single day, literally brick by brick. It's like you're getting paid based on your, you know what I'm saying? It was just a great experience. But that being said, it's like at the end of the day, I was working, and it's kind of like I'm not gonna be here forever, right? I know that I'm not gonna do this for forever, but at the end of the day, I'm not thinking that I'm gonna have to like choose between the two because you're gonna need money. You're gonna get money, and you're also gonna still be able to make time to do what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like at the end of the day, when I was working at that job, none of it was related to my raps, but I wrote some of these raps while I was working that job. You know what I'm saying? Like it was almost like I had all day in the world to just think about, you know what I'm saying, what I was going through and think about all of this. And it's like, you know what? Like I told y'all, I might only made like 14 songs for this project, and I just was like, put it all together, and that's what it was. And I didn't intend for it to be a project. So me working that job and writing these songs, I realized that this is who I am. I don't think that I'll ever be able to escape being a rapper or escape being an artist. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, as long as I have the means to distribute this junk, a means to say, okay, this is going to be my message to the world, then I can continue to build no matter where I go, right? And not only that, but I mean, if we're making money, I'm a finance major, bro. Like, I'll just figure out how to make more money, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to have to figure that out anyway.
Right.
So I'm just glad that I got the background in it. And it's like, man, we going to continue. I have no plan B. Like, it's all plan A.
Yeah.
It's all, you know what I'm saying?
I feel you. Because I feel like a lot of times as artists, we try to differentiate personal life from being an artist. When I had to realize in reality, like, I used to try to just be in the studio, just making music.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would find myself, what you rapping about? Like, what you talking about? Like, you ain't even went and did nothing. You not living life. So
Exactly.
I never really look at it as like, okay, I'm an artist now. Now I'm just being personal. Now I'm Chris. Now I'm Scorpio. But now I'm just executing life. And all of this is, like you said, it's me. This is all just part of me. So,
And it's so beautiful because artists like so talented, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all, it's just like, it becomes a flow of consciousness at a point. It's almost like the rapping part not even hard. You could put the words together. You just go in there, close your eyes, and just go for it. Like it becomes it becomes so ingrained in who you are that, like you said, you don't have to choose. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can be successful at both. And,
Yeah.
I mean, we're literally in it right now. So,
Yeah. Hey everyone, Code Red here. If you like the way this podcast looks and sounds, it's filmed on location at Code Red Productions. We handle all your audio needs for music, commercials, and podcasts. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Code Red Productions KC, or visit our website, coderedproductionskc.com. We'll see you here. Back to the show. What is more challenging? I mean, you've done two crazy things.
finance. What?
Okay, so like, yeah, my question is, you know, being where you're at now, about to graduate with your master's, or putting together a project with the whole rollout, taking the time in to do that, what is more challenging? The school is more challenging?
Man, look, I'm trying to kill me, dude.
Yeah.
Like, man, papers, assignments, and it's just a bunch of like, this isn't even like real math. This is like fake math. You know, the stuff with the letters and the numbers and the sums function. It's just a bunch, bro. And it's all Excel. And bro, they trying to get rid of me, bro. I don't know what they trying to do. I'm just trying to live my life, get my little degree, and just, you know, rap for some food. That's all I'm trying to do. But they are trying to get me up out of there. So finance, bro, if I can get that out the way, rap is like my refuge. You know what I'm saying? I run to that because, man, it'd be killing me. But, you know, I'm grateful for it because it's sharpening my mind. You know, it's like going to the gym, bro. It's never supposed to be easy. You know what I mean? But you keep doing it. You keep learning the terminology and learning the principles and the, you know, models. You start to kind of understand it, and you see the world in a whole different way. Like, it's developed my mind completely. So I'm grateful for it. Like, I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah. How has that had an impact on your music? Like, what are you bringing now to music that you weren't bringing before because you are college educated now? Like, because you were on the cusp of, you know, being done with school even. Like, how is that impacting your music? I
think that it's impacting my music. it's helping me to understand the business side of all my creative endeavors, like understanding how to navigate not only the functions within the business, but also the relationships within the business, and understanding, how to quantify, I guess, the service it is that we do. Because at the end of the day, a feature to me is like a service. It's like when somebody asks you for a feature, it's because they want your services on their album. You know what I'm saying? So understanding and being able to quantify what's going on in our space in a business context makes it a little bit easier when somebody says, what's the price of this thing, or how to know my own value. Because at the end of the day, I know that I make great art, right? But it's hard to know what to turn down or what to pick up or who to engage with and collaborate with, just because at the end of the day, it can be difficult when you're just making art for making art's sake, right? So that finance background has taught me, really given me a huge business context on how all this stuff works, right? So I'd say that's where an area where I feel like I've just gained the most perspective. Creatively, I think it's also shown me that, man, you can say a lot and help a lot of people through what you're writing about. So it's giving me this motivation to talk about, okay, let's address some of these ideas of financial literacy. Let's think about these different things and how can I incorporate that in my music. I listen to Blast, Nipsey, Larry June, like you hear them talking about this stuff, right? So it's like that's kind of how I think I want to go, like in terms of embracing that knowledge and then passing it along to other people through my music. So that's why I think it's been the most impactful.
And what about culturally? Like, what about just being on college campus? Like, how has that changed your mindset in music?
It's one of those situations where it's allowed me to see where I probably fit in this thing. Like, there was a time where I wanted, believe it or not, I was jealous because YoungBoy had the world on fire, bro. Everywhere I went, it was like YoungBoy, YoungBoy, YoungBoy. Respect. They was like, what, YoungBoy better? That was the thing, right? YB better? That was the whole thing. But it was like that in real life.
Yeah.
And I sound nothing like YB. So it's like, golly, bro, I want to sound like this dude, But what I realized is that everybody has a lane. You know what I mean? You go in different settings, you go around different people, you go to different events, and it's all different types of music being played. So it's just about being secure in your sound and knowing that your audience and where you're supposed to be will find you. It's just kind of how it works. So I think that being in that environment helped me to see that fully. I mean, living it out, right? So, yeah.
And what about like being a college grad? Like, do you bring to your artistry? I mean, like in terms of like when I see you live, you might throw on the cap and gown, and like bring that persona forward in the art. Mm-hmm. So, like, what message are you trying to send to your audience when you are up there? Like, this is me. Like, what's the message?
So when I was in that cap and gown, that was a part of my set for something new. And basically what we've been talking about, this main podcast, this entire podcast is like, when I got to college, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, I've been making music since I was like 14, 13. So like, I've been making music for a long time, and my goal was to be living off of it prior to even coming to college. But it didn't work out like that. But I did, having to get an opportunity to where I was able to go for free, and it was a big thing. So I'm like, you know what? Let's see what this has to offer. And it's like, okay, I didn't know what I was gonna do, but some kind of way I graduated, and it was like, wow, like I'm blessed to be here. And the reality is, though, when I got off the stage, I still had to figure out what I was going to do. And that's when I realized, like, oh, this is a reoccurring thing. You're always going to be in a position where you're trying to configure and restructure things to work in your favor or work out best for yourself. So at the end of the day, college is where I learned that. In that environment, I was able to learn that. So that's why I have to kind of take it up there to show y'all, like, bruh, I'm not going to say I didn't want to be here, but I can say that I didn't plan to be here and I made it. You know what I'm saying? So anywhere that you go, if you're in a place that you didn't end up planning to be, you can still make it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
That's how because I'm not gonna even say that I didn't go into college like on basketball scholarship, like, I knew I wasn't gonna pay for this when I got. Nah, it was like Lord just worked things out to where it just worked out, and it was like, dang, like this worked. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm glad I'm here, and I think it can go like that for anybody, regardless of the situation.
It sounds like it because it sounds like you're talking about like Terrence and you linking up. It sounds like you're talking about that. It seems like you just have like, I don't know if it is what the right words are, but it's like you're a victim of divine timing a lot of the time, or what?
Man, no, that's exactly what it is, bro. It's applied faith, bro. When you put your faith out there and you're like, all right, Lord, like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but we're gonna take a step. He guides the rest. He guides the steps. He wanted you to do that. And then he's like, all right, I got you. So he'll start clearing things out the way. And that's how it's worked, bro. And I'm just a product of that. And I try to carry that with me everywhere I go. So yeah, bro. Yeah. I'm just blessed to be here. That's really what it is.
Divine timing.
For real, bro.
When it comes to your live shows, you're an awesome performer.
Thank you.
Got to see you live many times. Are you putting in a lot of rehearsal for what you do, or you're just up there and you're like, I'm gonna wing it?
Man, shout out to my boy DJ Kareem. DJ Kareem, you watching this, bro? Just know I love you, bro. Cause late nights, man, I'm talking about. I can be that intention comes with so much scrutiny and practice and detail that it leaks over to my team. And sometimes I'll just be feeling so bad because I'm like, bro, like, you want to stay for another hour? Like, you know what I mean? And he's always with it. So, yes, bro, we put in a lot of time. But he's also, like I say, one of those other people that was just like, I didn't really know how we were going to work, but it was like we met and he has all the skills that almost like where I fall short, he comes and he's exactly what I need to be in those
you guys
moments.
Compliment
we compliment each other, bro. And it's like, I don't necessarily know how all my shows are gonna go all the time. We have a structure to it, but man, you know how many times there's been things that have gone wrong and he'll just deal with it in a way that's just so smooth. And I just look back, I'll be like, oh yeah, you're cold. Like, thank you. Like, that was great.
Yeah.
Because we almost lost it there. But, so that being said, man, we have a structured plan, but I have such a great team that honestly, when those things don't go as planned, it's almost like I'm not even really tripping because it's going to be great. So our performances, we go in with a plan and we just go off the feel of the crowd and we try to see it all the way through and give everybody the best experience that we can. But since we're having such a great experience, I think it always translates, like, no matter what. I can stand, bro. Like, we're however many performances, if our record, we're undefeated. Like,
yeah,
every performance is always just, even if it's a little shaky, it's undefeated every time. So,
and do you guys think of yourselves like we perform and it like feels like a band, or it just feels like this is Zeph's set? You know what I mean? Like, what's it feel like?
I wouldn't say that it's a band just because we don't package it that way, right? But I think that people are aware that it's these are my songs and like this is kind of the brand of Zeph France. But honestly, bro, it's more of that team environment where it's like, oh no, this is my dog though. Like, he's very much involved. We're talking back and forth. He's incorporating the crowd. He's hyping the crowd up there. I feel like people know about DJ Kareem just as much as they know about me, which is exactly what I want because I mean, I wouldn't be here without my team. So like, that's how it's supposed to be, So yeah.
So you and DJ Kareem did the True False music performances together?
Yeah.
And all I know is what I saw on social media. It looked like you guys did like 5 sets or something like that.
Bro, what was that? Probably, bro, like 4 or 5 sets in like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Bro.
Walk us through that. Like, were the sets different? Were they the same? Where were you performing?
So basically, True False is this music. Well, no, it's a film festival that's hosted in Colombia every single year. Actually, we did it last year for the first time, and they brought us back this year. And basically, it's filmmakers from all over the world. I mean, I met a guy from, I think, like Poland and France, and like, they speak all these different languages, Portugal, all over the place. And we're all there. And every film, I think they're showing a film almost every hour, like every couple hours. But the films typically have openers. So there'll be people who have music, such as myself, or different types of artists, and they'll have us perform for 30 or 40 minutes before the people come in, right? So we're opening up for the film. And typically those sets are, depending on it all depends on where the film's being shown. So sometimes you can be in a big performance venue that holds 800 people, or you can be in a performance venue that holds 30 people, right? But they send us early, and we kind of curate the vibe based on the songs, and we go from there. So throughout that whole weekend, we performed for maybe, largest crowd might have been 150 maybe. And then there were some crowds that were about as small as 50 or 40, right? And since we knew what the venues were going to be, we just curated it that way. And we also had a showcase. So there was a night where they put us as like a headline on a bill, and I happened to be the closer that night, and that was the night where we had a lot of people in that bar, and it was great, bro. Like it was just amazing to be able to get that much practice in and get that much time and build that chemistry that we talked about earlier. So yeah, that's typically how it goes. It was a really fun experience.
Were you guys running the same set for each performance, or were you switching it up?
Switching it up for sure. It all kind of depended on. Sometimes we even looked at the film, like what kind of film it was, and then if it was gonna be, more of that somber feel, then we were gonna, I can sing, so I'm gonna do the singing thing. If it's gonna be a little bit more lively, then I'll do more of the rapping. It just kind of depends, and it's all ages. So it's always so funny to see people like older, like 60s and 70s, and we'll have them throwing their hands up and going back and forth. It's pretty cool stuff, bro. And I think that experience has taught me how important it is to not only engage with the crowd, but be transparent with the crowd. Because I know this might seem a little awkward for you, but bro, it's kind of awkward for me too. Like this is not, you know what I mean? And when Kareem and I show how natural our vibe is, I think the crowd responds to that. And that's why I learned that. I'm like, you know what? Nah, bro. This is a little weird right now because we don't know each other. But by the end of this, we going to know each other, and this is going to be family. So that's how we try to approach every single set. And having so many different diverse crowds and having so many different types of films, it created this challenge where we had to learn how to do it. And that's what it's produced. So
you guys were almost even curating the sets to match the vibe of the films that you guys were working with, like at the show. That's
Absolutely.
Cool. And what's the energy like? Say you're playing a crowd with 150, or you're performing for 20 people. Are you still bringing the same Zeph France, or you just like the vibes of the room dictate like the mood of the show?
For this particular festival, we curated the vibes based on what we thought the mood was going to be in the venue, because sometimes the lighting plays a big role in that too. Like if the lights are big and they're all bright, you probably want to have a little bit more, I guess you say, energy in the song choice, like the set list. But in terms of my performance and my effort, like in the way we vibe, it's always, 110%, just because you never know. The goal is to impact who's in front of you, right? So as long as your goal is to impact whoever's in front of you, man, it could be 5 people, 10 people. But if you're putting in that work, those people will always follow you wherever you go. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that's the goal for sure.
Yeah, right on. Scorp, what you got?
Kind of off topic. Just speaking in general about stuff I've been listening to. I've been listening to like a lot of Michael Jackson and like old school stuff. You feel me? And at one point it classified as like pop music. You feel me? How do you feel about that? Today I kind of feel like pop music isn't what it was before. Pop used to be defined as just music that had success, you know what I'm saying, within the industry. But now I feel like it's kind of crossing genres.
Yeah.
So what do you kind of feel about that?
I actually agree. I had this conversation. Well, I don't want to say conversation. I was thinking to myself. That sounds crazy. But it was a conversation in my head.
It was a conversation
right. Yeah. So that being said, I was thinking about this. I'm like, man, like these pop records, like they're everywhere, and we're talking, I think I was talking to one of my homies last night. Oh, it was Ashawn. And he was like, man, like, hip hop being dominant on the charts the way it is isn't as common as people think that it is. Because maybe 5 or 10 years ago, having a number 1 hip hop song wasn't as popular or common today, you know what I'm saying, as it is today, right?
Yeah.
So when I look back at those records from that time, I wondered to myself, like, would I be able to make a record like that? And would it then classify me as hot pop, right? And I'm like, no, like absolutely not. I think that it has broadened simply because the distribution of the music itself has broadened. So people can, because if I'm not mistaken, pop is short for popular, right? Right. So it's like, because everybody has a voice, well, then we get to see who the most popular voice is. And for a while, there was a point where it was just dictated to a sound, and I don't think it's no longer dictated to that. So it's now, at least more catered towards the success of the overall cultural influence. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that it's completely translated, like completely transitioned from that.
So, but there's still music that we would call pop music. You would say, like, I mean,
Ariana Grande stuff.
Still
Yeah,
pop,
yeah. Dang, man, that's a tough question, but I kind of stand on that. Like, as long as it's popular, as long as it's what the people want, man, I wouldn't say it's pop, but I'll say that
you're a pop star.
You're a pop star. You're popular. Like you're. I think that we had a sound in our mind because that was what was placed to be the most popular. But because that no longer exists, or at least it's not as so dominant, it's not as dominant as it was once was, then we can redefine it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How influenced by what we would say is pop music are you?
I think that I try to limit how much influence it has over my creation process. Because sometimes the success of pop records can be alluring, right? You're like, man, like I'm not gonna make this song 6 minutes because because it's not gonna translate. Maybe people skip it. You know, it starts to feel like there are rules to this, right?
Right.
But I will say, I love writing good hooks, bro. Like I love hooks. That's 100%. Like my thing, right? So it's like, hey man, I love them hooks, so that's where I gotta go. I gotta listen to the good hooks, you know. So that's it's definitely very influential in my perception of how I write music. Right, I start with the hook. I think about the melodies. Right, that's typically how I make music. But I also try not to let it limit me in terms of how far I'm willing to go to express myself. Like expression is the number one thing for me. So yeah.
I want to talk about this Alchemist quote I saw the other day that said the beat is secondary and the raps are everything. He said he likes to make a beat like a bed that the artist can lay in. Now, you know, as producers, all three of us, we love beats for sure. I mean,
absolutely.
like,
Absolutely.
to me, I'm like, I'm gonna play that beat. But but the raps are really everything, right? Because it's like we don't even hear the songs. They don't get released unless there's a rap on there, right?
Right. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on who the artist is, because you got Metro Boomers in the world now. Because now sometimes the beat is the most important part. Because like at the what's it called? Like that with Future and K Dot. The end of the song is just Metro Boomer just chopping it.
Right.
So it kind of depends on who it is. I feel like.
Well, that's a new thing too. Like we were talking about the hip hop charts and the pop charts from 10 years ago. There was not as much producers just out here dropping music. Like I'm one of them. You're one of them. We just drop music as producers. You know what I mean? So it's like that's a new thing. But this Alchemist quote was only like 2 weeks ago. So what's he talking about? You know what I mean? Like are the beats, the artist is the most important still, right?
I think the music. I think the music is the most important now, because when you think about it, the artist was important was because the artist is not just the music. The artist is what they represent. The artist is their words, their perspective, their style. So you can take somebody's words and make a song like Erykah Badu, a person that's full of perspective. I mean, she is self-expression, I mean, magnified, right?
To the max.
So that being said, you take an artist like that and you take her words from her, but she still got her deliverance and her cadence and, you know, all these different things that she adds to the records, right? So that's important. It really is. But there was a time, especially when you're thinking about business-wise and how it's all marketed, it's like that's what you're selling is Erykah Badu, right? You're not even thinking about the people that are writing, because some of these people that we glorify didn't even write what they were saying. I mean, you think about if I'm not mistaken, I mean some of the biggest singers in the world, Whitney Houston, right? She didn't write "I Will Always Love You," right? But we didn't know that. We just saw that she was singing it, and she personified what that song meant to us.
Right.
So that's why I think that the voice was so important, because it wasn't just the voice and the words being marketed. But nowadays, everybody can put stuff out. So it's like, well, if you know how to market yourself and you know how to put it out there and make your stuff important and how your character important, then I think that even when you look at people like Kayla Ellis, you look at people like Knowledge, you look at people like Paul Grant, you look at people like Mad Keys, these are all like producers that have their own sounds, and it's like you can't just get a Mad Keys beat. You can't just get a Kalen Ellis beat. Like, you have to go to these guys for this specific style. And that's how you get a Metro Boomin, where it's like, I make beats this way and people sound good over my beats. DJ Mustard, another great example, where it's like, it's me that is the common denominator. So it's all about how you position yourself and how you market yourself. So I get what Alchemist is saying, but Alchemist beats don't even have no drums on them. So it's kind of like, I mean, I guess, like, yeah, bro, respect, but like, come on, bro. Like, it's a little bit more to it than that, in my opinion. Just about what you want to do, you know?
Let's talk about another quote I have here. I wrote down a couple quotes. This one was from Rick Rubin out of his book. I don't know if you've read the book. The book was phenomenal. The Creative Act.
The Creative, bro, I've been recommended that book like 3 or 4 times. I also, if I could recommend a book back to you, bro, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
I think I've heard of that, but I definitely want to check that out.
J. Cole read it back before he wrote Born Sinner. He said that like it really helped him, and I've been going through like the steps and stuff. It's about a 13-week program. It's a cool thing. It's a really cool thing.
The Artist's Way.
The Artist's Way. Yeah, Julia Cameron. Yeah.
This quote from Rick Rubin: "Some great artists undermine themselves by setting unrealistic goals based on the perceived successes and trappings they see around them." So, as somebody that is like yourself, that is just released a project, is about to graduate college, how do you go about setting your goals, and how much are your goals influenced by what's going on around you?
I think that I try to assess where I am currently and where I want to go, because I've always struggled with the steps on how to get to the larger vision, right? But what helps me is the daily execution of achieving that larger vision, right? So if I could break it down a little bit better, I'll say that I want to win a Grammy. I'm never going to forget that I want to win a Grammy, because that's what's going to keep me going. But the more that I dissect and I study the people who won Grammys and see what they did, then it makes it easier for me to incorporate it into my daily life. So those become, it's almost like they feel like tasks rather than goals, if that makes sense. So I'm like, you know what? Hey, I'm going to make a song and then we're going to market it this way, because this is what the best marketers do. However it falls or how it lands, that's okay. But Terrence was talking about it. He was like, bro, process over results. We're not going to worry about what's going to happen because we can't control that, right? But we can control what we observe and how we try to achieve what it is that we're trying to do. So, I mean, he's completely right. If you set your mind on something that almost feels so attainable that you're like, oh, I can pretty much dang near figure this out. Bro, I can't figure out how to win a Grammy. You're never going to figure that out. Like, it's so many things that are out of your control that you can just say, hey, I want to go that way. But if you focus, it gives you an opportunity to focus and create a process and master that process. And that will then eventually lead to those bigger things. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Right. And I mean, winning a Grammy isn't even something that, I mean, you can have that on your goal list, but that's not something that you can attain by going and doing it. It's not like something that I can't go walk a mile and say I walked a mile like that. You know what I'm saying? That's something that is so subjective. But saying, all right, I'm going to record and release 4 songs in the next 2 months, that is something you can do. You know what I mean?
Right. And that way, when it's like, if you have that goal, I think that, like I say, if your goal is to complete that task, it makes it a lot more gratifying, because then you're not like, hey, this is going to lead to me getting 100,000 streams, which is going to lead to me getting a record deal, which is going to, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like you just have an overarching vision, and then you can just start to master your process to get to that overarching vision. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, align yourself with situations that get you to that point. Because like I was talking to my boy Riley, we was talking about plants. His brother got a plant in the house.
Okay.
He was like, he got a little cactus, and I told him I got a cactus too, but it's small. He was like, well, mine was small too, but it grew hecka big. It's the environment that you're in, the situation that you put around it is. It's like he said, the limits on it. If you put yourself in situations that could get you to the Grammy, you're just that much closer to it. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you can't go do it, but shoot, I'm around people that can get me there.
Exactly.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks, Zeph. Appreciate you sliding, bro, especially straight from New York. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely, bro.
At Code Red KC, at We Got One Scorp, at I'm Zeph France. Thanks, y'all. Peace.
Appreciate y'all.
Cool.